Wrap this morning.
Nice.
Yeah, got done at 9 a.m.
And y'all started at
we started at 7:30. Well, my call time was 7:30 p.m. General call was 8 p.m. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are great. Those overnights are. Those 6 to 6s sometimes are real brutal.
Tell me about that. All right. I'll tell you about it on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is what I was worried about too. You definitely look like you. I mean, this isn't like a nag against you at all, and I don't want you to take this the wrong way. But you look like you could, you would just like, you just rather do anything else but to just sleep. You just want sleep. It's like right now, mom needs a nap. Okay, and you bastards better be in bed. You know, you kind of have that face going on.
Do I have that face going on?
Yeah.
Do I have a, well, shit.
Well, shit.
I've gotten, let's see how many, like 4 hours of sleep, maybe 4, 3.
You assholes are on my back like a bunch of monkeys in a barrel, and I don't get any sleep. I'm chugging my 9,000th coffee, and you people are killing me.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
It makes for a more interesting episode to see. That's why I stopped giving up looking, like trying on, because I think it's more interesting to see what your state of mind is at that moment.
Whose state of mind? What are you talking about?
Let me say shit. I'm just saying I stopped like.
Oh, worrying about other people's
Oh yes, I stopped
how they think of you.
Trying to like look nice and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
On a podcast, because I'm like, you know what? I think it's more interesting to see what my state of mind is at the moment I was doing the podcast.
No, yeah, exactly. We're here to be honest and brutally honest. You know, Christine, we're not here. This isn't the Joe Rogan experience where, you know, we just talk about muscles and you know, we're talking about art and the throes of it and assholes who want to sabotage said art.
Yes.
Okay, let's get into it. Okay, now let's go to Instagram, man.
Okay.
If only Christine. If only I just get my shit fucking together and understand how to simultaneously stream on Instagram and Facebook without literally waiting for 5 minutes for me to just do a whole bunch of shit.
I don't know if you can do that like live.
I think it is, and I think I'm going crazy. I think right after this podcast, like I'm gonna write a reminder for myself. Actually, hang on.
Right after this podcast, we're going to figure out our shit after 60.
Like, I'm going to put my writing time to the side, like my work time to the side to research this, because it's infuriating. I don't know how much I can describe. It's infuriating. And the fact I can't even tag you in it too is all the more infuriating.
I see.
I know you can give a shit, Christine. It makes me all the fucking mad.
No, I'm just noticing who's on Instagram. It's 2 people that I know. My professor. school, and you and Jonathan, the other
Yeah,
friend.
and
Hi, Jonathan. How goes it?
literally spilling my heart out.
While I'm ignoring you.
And
It
again,
wasn't. You were just telling me a plan.
Ignored.
Not trying to ignore you.
I'm sorry. I know you're not, but it it does seem that way whenever you. Never mind. All right. You're over it, Christine. I can tell. So let's just get straight into it.
I just got done with the overnight. Hi,
I
Jonathan.
know. So that's why you're over it.
I'm over many things right now.
Let's get into it. Let's not waste any more time, and let's not fucking around. Ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, oh man, I love Sassy Christine. Welcome to the newest edition of the Get Reelisms podcast. New episode, if you will, episode 68. I am Adam Chase Reddy.
I am Christine Chen.
That's right, episode 68. We're here and we're live. We're doing it. I'm gonna turn this down because
and I have my sexy just got out of bed voice.
I mean,
literally, I literally did. I
just got out of bed. Yeah,
I set an alarm for 1:30. That didn't happen. Set an alarm for 1:45. That did happen because my roommates and his buddies were visiting for the weekend that I rudely interrupted this morning are here, and I was like, so I'm gonna do a podcast now. Didn't even brush my teeth or anything. Just turn on the laptop and here I am. Here I am. This is it. This is what you get.
Right. And you know what? I want nothing more. And you want to know something, Christine? I want to do from here on out every podcast. The moment you wake up.
The moment I wake up podcast.
The moment you wake up, you throw on whatever, and then you get your computer, your microphone, and you just hit record, dude.
You know what?
This is what I want to do every time now. Yeah.
It would be called When I Roll Out, or The Moment I Wake Up, or what would we call it? Here I Am, or I don't know. We got to figure that. Actually could be interesting because I find that people, you're not putting on some sort of persona. You literally just woke up and you're gonna just say whatever comes to your head. So let's just change our
sleepy
podcast.
Yeah, sleepy.
Yeah. That's gonna be season 4. Wait, what season are we on? Season 4.
We're on season 3.
Season 4. After an overnight. That's what it's gonna be called.
So this is the first episode of season 4, is what you're saying?
The first episode of season 4. After an overnight.
After an overnight. You get to hear, folks. So you have finished this set. This was the feature, right?
Yeah, I've been on a feature for 27 days. Yes.
Right, and wow, and what a way to end this set with a bang. Then do an overnight, right, Christine? When did you start this overnight? Last night? I know you told me, but we haven't recorded.
Yeah. So the general call time was 8 p.m. But the AD teams usually an hour to 30 minutes to an hour before general call time. In theory, on the call sheet, my call time was probably 7 p.m. But I'm stupidly negotiated a weekly rate, so I don't get overtime if I'm past 12 hours. So I'm like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm just gonna show up at 7:30 p.m. instead. So that's as long as it's before 8 p.m. I'm fine.
Wow.
Yeah. So yes, I came in at 7:30 p.m. And we rocked it, and then we wrapped I think we officially wrapped at 7 a.m. But there's a loadout period.
Right.
I ran away, literally ran away, because after wrap, we all snuck bottles of champagne and ran to the trailer and, did our little celebration. And I knew that the girls, when I say the girls, I'm talking about the AD team, Carly, Nikki, and them.
Shout
Were gonna,
out friends
yeah,
to the
that
podcast.
they were gonna have a hard time getting off the set because they were all delirious and tired. So, and I was right. I ran away and immediately went to Target. Um, and I get a call at Target being like, I can't believe you guys left. We're still here at the production office. And they're clearly like, you know, uh, drunk.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. See, come back, blah, blah, blah. I was like, no, way, fuckers.
So this
So
was a
yeah.
set that definitely tested your patience.
Yeah, I mean, every set tests my patience.
Yeah, yeah. After I said that, I realized that was kind of a dumb question. I was
I
like,
don't think
wait,
there's ever,
uh,
I
yeah,
don't think, I would like to interview other ADs. I feel like there's no such thing as a set that doesn't test someone's patience. I think that's what film is about. It's about testing people's patience. Yeah. So if you, I mean, you think about it, you get a project
mhm,
with limited resources and um, factors that you cannot control.
yes,
That is the perfect storm for a set that tests your patience, which
yeah,
is the definition of all film sets. I can't watch movies now without going, oh my God, that's a logistical nightmare. Um, I just
yeah.
watched Dune not too long ago.
Oh, isn't it great?
It is, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
epic, epic
it's
on all cinematic fronts. I haven't left a movie feeling that way in a long time. I think the last time I felt so, I'm trying to describe what that feeling is. It's like this, I have this like weird dopey smile on my face. And it's like I realize this is why I do movies. And I just feel content and just in awe and inspired at the same time. I think the last time I truly felt this way was during South by Southwest. Snuck in, well, I didn't sneak in. I stood in a very long ass line and got into the showing of Black Swan at the Paramount. Granted, that was probably not just the movie, but the setting itself. I'd never been in the Paramount before, and it's this beautiful old school theater in Austin, Texas, and it's like painted ceilings, vaulted, like an opera house. And
mhm, yeah,
being able to had that was the first South by I'd ever gotten into, and I got into this like coveted like major screening that was happening. I'd been waiting in line for like an hour, and I got in. So like I'm sure all that added to this feeling as well. But I mean, when I got out of Dune, it was just everything, every
it
aspect of
was
that film.
your world. Yeah,
Yeah, every aspect of
yeah,
that film. But I definitely during the whole during lots certain parts of the film kept thinking, man, well, I wonder what their base camp is like. There's so much sand. That must have been like a logistical nightmare. And I was like, how would that's definitely clearly a steady cam shot or a crane shot. I like, how did they get that in the sand? And I just all these things in my mind, thinking of like the amount of extras that are there, the wardrobe, and like I later have read that I think about 60% of the film is actually done on a stage in Budapest, and only
mhm,
parts of it is cheated in the deserts of Jordan. But
right.
I'm trying to think if I'm ever going to make a movie that takes place in the desert.
I mean, listen, like it's been done before.
Oh
I
yeah.
felt that way. So I want to say when I was 15. Yeah,
Mhm.
I was 15 years old. I saw went to the movie theater on
Yeah.
35 millimeter and saw Lawrence of Arabia for the first time.
Lawrence of Arabia.
And I never seen the film before. And
Yeah.
it was that same feeling where I walked out of the movie theater and it was my world. It was
Yeah.
everything that I loved, everything about it. Not just the story, just how it's shot, how well everything was so lit and the color was so vibrant
Hmm.
too. It's just it captured so much of my imagination for a movie that is particularly pretty old,
Yeah.
and it just shook my world. And I was 15 at the time. That was when fucking, you know, Pineapple Express came out, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shit like that. You
But
know, it's just like it was one of those movies that I just like I couldn't stop thinking about it. And then I
mhm,
asked for it on DVD for Christmas,
yeah.
on DVD. Not it was way before Blu-ray, ladies and gentlemen. And or maybe it was what Blu-ray did come out. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so I got the DVD and I probably watched that dozens of times. I listened to the commentary with director commentary and
Hmm.
acting cast commentary. You know, yeah, it's just the movie's phenomenal. So yeah, I definitely get that feeling of
Yeah.
feeling so inspired, and not only just inspired, but it's like transcends inspiration,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
And it just like it hits you in a way that you're just like, "Oh, I not only want to know everything how this works, but I need to make something right now."
Just
You
like
know?
that, right now, right this second.
Yeah.
Like hand me a camera right now. That's how you feel.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
so
hadn't
good.
gone to a movie theater, I think the whole year, I believe the whole year. And so this is the fact that this was the movie that first see in the movie theater is like epic. And I got
Epic.
to see it in the IMAX. I'm so glad about that. And I got to see it with a few of my fellow colleagues from the film set, which is even more great, because there's just
Yeah.
a level of appreciation that, being in the industry, filmmakers have. And I think we all walked out of it being like, holy shit,
Fuck, so
yeah,
expansive. And you're right,
yeah,
like in the middle of the desert, I always thought, I'm just like, how the fuck did you guys ship all this out in the middle of the fucking desert?
yeah.
This is gonna be a production nightmare. This has to be a production nightmare. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
fucking way. And I remember I never saw the BTS of the film. So I never knew, but it's just how fucking wide
How?
that movie is.
Yeah.
And
This is the
so
question is how?
it gave me almost anxiety. It was just like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this is a lot of work. Like,
Yeah.
this is a ton of work. What the fuck?
I know.
But
And
that's my
and the
only regret is I wish I saw it in the movie theater. I saw it in my, I mean, I have a relatively big screen TV. It's like
sure.
55
You need to
inches, but
rewatch it again. You
I
have
want to
to.
see it in a big screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like there's directors that get mad when they're like, oh, people just watch my stuff. Like who does that? Nolan and Scorsese. They're always so pissed off if people like don't watch it in a movie theater because you don't get the actual experience. And this is definitely one of those films where I'm like, I'm so glad I watched it in the IMAX and got that full experience with the sound, with the music, with everything. Because it's an entirely different feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
And
is. I mean, but I still enjoyed it. No, I mean that's the
sure,
thing
sure,
that I
sure, of
disagree
course.
with. It's just like I still enjoyed the movie. The story is. I love Dune. I love David Lynch's Dune. I'm a huge Frank
I've never
Herbert
read
fan.
Dune.
You
Yeah.
never read Dune? Oh
Uh-uh.
man,
So now that here, for someone who has read Dune and watched the film, do you suggest that I should consider going back and reading the book, or do you think I would
I
be
suggest one
okay?
step further and listen to the
Okay.
audiobook. The
There's an
audiobook,
audiobooks?
the
OMG.
narrator is, I don't know who his name is, but he deserves all of the fucking awards
Yeah.
because he was able to like change his voice and like still be the narrator and still maintain the integrity of every single character and know their emotional state
Hmm.
in every point of that book. It's so to me it's so much better as an audiobook than just fucking reading it, you know.
Wow.
But I recommend the audiobook more than
Okay.
just, I mean, and that's coming from a boy who really hates reading.
Yeah.
But I read Dune because I did as a book report in high school, and they were
Okay.
like and they told me, like, they gave me like these set of books, and it was like some stupid string of books that I didn't want to read.
Mhm.
And I was big into sci-fi. I read I, Robot by Isaac Asimov, the book, not the movie.
Oh,
I read the book,
I
and
robot.
the book was phenomenal. And some dude who was in my chemistry class was like, "Have you read Dune?" I'm like, "No, what is that?" And he's like, "It's kind of like that, but it's more fucked up. It's pretty cool." And I'm like, "All right, I'll give it a try." And I checked it out of the library, and I had to do the book report anyways, and I needed a book, so
Yeah.
I read it, and I flushed through that book within a week. Like, I loved it. That's how engaged I was with it. And then cut to years later when I worked in retail, I used to travel to stores like almost half the day. It's like
Yeah.
5 hours, 6 hours a day. I'm traveling. I just listened to the Dune on audiobook. And that, like, it took me like a couple of days, and I re-listened to it like maybe 3 times. It's so fucking good. I love the audiobook. So I
Okay,
recommend it.
I'll
It's on
try.
Audible,
Yeah.
I think. If you have Amazon Prime, I think you get like a free month of Audible or something like that. So you can get it for free, I think. Um
Okay.
yeah,
I
dude,
will
I
definitely try
love
that.
the Dune is a phenomenal story. I mean, and there's no nothing against the movie except for, and this isn't really like a negative thing, but I did notice that a couple people said something about that, especially on Reddit. I lurk
Mhm.
around Reddit a little bit like an idiot, but I noticed that a lot of people noticed that there's a lot of inner monologue going on, like with a
Mhm.
lot of these characters, and there
Mhm.
was absolutely none of that. But my argument was it was all portrayed through body language. Like, you
Right.
clearly saw it all in its body language. Like, Timothy Chalamet just took it and ran with it. Zendaya
Yeah.
took it and ran with it. Like, they're both astronomically amazing talent that
Yes.
they could just steal the character, and they don't have to say a fucking word, and just
I
their presence
honestly,
alone just speaks volumes,
yeah,
you know.
and I find that to be just more fascinating.
Oh,
Um,
right. And that
and
goes in the directing as well,
yeah, anytime
you
I
know.
write, I often tell the actors, if you can take my script and say it without saying anything, I'd rather that. I think there's something powerful to being able to express some, just in the subtleties of your body language versus s- I think dialogue is, I hate saying it's an easy way out because there is brilliant dialogue, but I do think dialogue is an easier way of trying to get your ideas and points and information across than it is through the subtleties of just body language
Mm.
alone. You know,
Less is more. Yeah.
less is more, it is a whole less is more thing. So um that's very interesting. The fact I did not know that a lot of that was inner dialogue that was
David
completely.
Lynch's Dune, that's why I love David Lynch's Dune too, was
Yeah, I
that,
haven't
like,
seen
they
that either.
kept all of the inner dialogue,
Mm,
like just have as a narration, like Kyle, I forgot his name, Kyle, the actor's name from David Lynch's Dune, or whatever, it
I
doesn't
have
matter.
no clue.
He did the voiceover, he did like voice, like he did all the inner monologue, and the other characters did also their inner monologue as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I love. It's a great movie, or it's a great story, Dune itself. But Dennis Villeneuve, fucking home run, my guy.
yeah,
Hats off to you, sir. It's very job well done. It's a great movie. And I can't wait
that's
for part
cool.
two. Like, it's kind of one of those like movies that I didn't think I would be interested in, like,
I was
waiting for a
mad
part
that it
two.
ended. I was like,
Oh, really?
wait, what?
Yeah.
Not like, legitimately annoyed, but more just like, why is it still going? I could have
Yeah, I know.
sat there for another 3 hours and kept watching.
Yeah, it felt
Um,
like I know you probably haven't seen. It's like it's almost like Avengers: Infinity War, like how they just sort of like ended the movie. It's like, what
sure.
what the fuck? You freak out, and you have to wait a year for the next one and shit. It's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah,
this was so epic. So
yeah,
if you have
it
not
is.
seen
I won't
Dune,
spoil it. Yeah, I
yes,
don't want to.
please.
I feel like it's kind of a newer movie for us to just talk spoilers, even though it came out a while ago, kind of.
Yeah. No, it was
No, well, we won't speak for spoilers, but
no,
yeah,
it was
it's really good.
beautiful.
It was
Epic.
beautiful.
Beautiful. And then just the cinematic cinematography alone and everything was just mind-boggling. And having
Was it
gotten
Roger
off
Deakins again?
wasn't I can't
I don't
I'm
know.
terrible at knowing who did what. I just know that it's beautiful.
Yeah,
Is it? Let's look it up.
yeah. I mean, we have the internet. What the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? Let's find out. Dune
Um,
part one. Let's hear cinematographer. It's the cast. It was just, but like, and I think, oh, it's not.
it's not. Yeah,
Greg Fraser.
Greg Fraser.
But I think the biggest thing is like, I feel like this. I need to do this more. I haven't had much of these experiences, and I'm glad that I did on this one. I think I need to watch a movie, force myself to make time to watch a movie when I'm in the middle of production for something completely different. Because
I watch movies in the middle of production too. I mean, when I come home and stuff,
but there's
I
something
watch
about
something.
just like when you're in the grind and every single day you're tired and you're working 13, 14, 15 hours a day and you're just annoyed, because that is a very difficult, tiring, you know, place to be, especially if you've done it multiple days in a row. I feel like just simply watching a movie reminded me why I was doing it in the first place, you know? And I don't get a chance to do that just because of time and just or rather want have sleep or I'm working on something else and while I'm some sort of side hustle or whatever. But this time around, I'm on a film that's got a slightly bigger budget than most that I've worked on, bigger crew, bigger cast and everything. And it's stressful. But then you go to like an epic film like Dune and you have context, right? Like,
Right.
okay, I'm like here stressing about this film that is huge to me, but like then I look at an epic scale of a movie like Dune, and I'm like, why the fuck am I complaining? Why this is
Yeah.
nothing compared to that, and
Right.
it just gives you a perspective. So I need to start doing that where when I'm deep in production on a weekend or when I'm off or whatever to go and watch a movie while I'm in production just to just a little friendly reminder like, hey, this is why you're doing this, and this is why you love it. Because
Yeah.
while you're in it, it's hard to see that you're very myopic, right? You're in it and all I'm thinking about is like, dear God, like we went over today or like, oh, we got stuck in the I have so many stories from this week of production alone.
Yeah, I
Oh,
bet.
but like I just think that context just I don't know, it just makes everything all that more special. If that makes any sense. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
So yeah.
But that's the funny thing is like I feel like I always thought everybody felt that way. You know what I mean? Like I always
No, that's
thought
the
like
thing that we
I always
think
thought
that.
filmmakers in general just feel that way. Like whenever you watch a movie,
Sure, yes,
you
filmmakers
immediately
in
feel
general
that
that
not
awe and
transcendent, but like
right.
inspiring, but also like it plays to your likes, to
Yeah,
everything, to what you love, and that is film.
great.
And I always feel like film whenever I feel uninspired, I go back to film. I just
Yes. Yeah, yeah. But that's what I'm
that's kind of
saying. When
my
you feel uninspired, and sometimes you need to be reminded why you're still inspired, because
right.
when you're in the daily grind, it's easy to lose perspective of that. It's like when I say I need to do it more, but like every year I usually make a reel of what I did that year. you know, and just simply doing that reminds me, like, oh, of all the things I've accomplished that year, and gives me perspective, because when you're in the deep in the grind of it, you can't, it's hard to be grateful for things that have been accomplished or done, because all you're focused on are the emotional reactions that you're having to the task at hand.
It's
Do you
hard to
see what I'm saying?
appreciate it when you spend so much time
Exactly.
on it.
In
So
it.
much.
Exactly. So that's what I'm
In it.
saying.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, you're spending so much time in it. You're deep in it. You're worrying about the problems that are happening at that moment, exact time when you're on that project, that it's incredibly difficult to have any kind of perspective and reflection about the work that you're doing, you know? And so simply, it's crazy.
Unless you see it, right? Like once you
Sure, sure,
see the
sure,
final
sure.
product after the final cut,
Of
you
course.
then come
Yeah.
back around and you're like, oh,
Yeah.
actually,
Oh, yeah. We spent a
this
lot of
isn't
time. Blah,
so
blah,
much
blah.
of a nightmare. This is lovely, even though, behind the scenes of it all, yeah,
Yeah.
you don't see that shit.
Sure.
That's
Yeah.
a
No, I
film
do.
all by itself.
Right.
Most
But
BTS.
I think I'm just going to do it. I think that's just my observation. Is just like, hey, when I deep in the trenches for a film, I need to force myself to go watch some. And I hate saying force myself, because like I love to watch movies.
Right.
It's more just the time aspect, but I just feel like I need to really watch some epic movie of some scale, to remind myself, like, this is why we do what we do. And like, yeah, you might be tired and sweaty and whatever in your current situation, but like, holy shit, look at what they made.
It's
And
fucking rad. Yeah.
right, and the scale, and you're just this compared to like this. Does that make any sense? It's
It
just
does.
perspective. Yeah.
It's a matter of
So
perspective, and also you learn to appreciate that even more
yeah.
as you go further into your film career, especially
Yeah.
with you as your first AD career. Like I know shit was different 5 years ago,
So
but
different. I mean,
shit was just wildly different. I feel like shit was different for me 3 years ago doing this, like getting this started and getting on writer's block. It felt like that is not the same guy who, I mean, it's just still the same silly, dumb me,
yeah.
but I'm now fitted a little better to gauge whether or not to be funny, and to just know to when it's serious and it's business time, it's business time. You gotta,
Mhm.
you know,
I,
you gotta do. But
we've
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, we've had a few episodes where we accidentally reminisce and go back and revisit the past and stuff like that.
Yeah, we don't have
And
to if you don't
no, no,
want to.
no. I like that.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
it's like, you think about it, we are so different from what we were when we started. And in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't that long ago, even though it feels that way sometimes. Um, I had this conversation with a fellow actor on set not too long ago as well. We were kind of revisiting our career trajectories, and I think this was the same with when we were on the podcast with Kelly last week or a week before that, about where we came from. And it's that like idea of, hey, 10 years ago, I didn't even know I could make a career in this, and that's just 10 years ago. I literally had no clue that this was possible. You know what I'm saying? And now I'm here complaining about the overnight that I've just gone on a 27-day feature film
I
that,
need to
yes, it was
appreciate
very
movies more.
tired.
Yeah.
I need to appreciate what I do more. But do you see what I'm saying? It's
I
just
do.
it's just, we're not the same people anymore. And it really wasn't that long ago. Um, I just find that very fascinating, because I think we were comparing stories of like, how did you get started, or like, where, why this, and I had a moment realization where I was like, I don't know. where or how, but when I had the light bulb moment that I wanted to do this as my career, at that moment, I had never made a single narrative film. At that moment, when I had the light bulb moment, I had only made documentaries in undergrad. So what in the hell sparked this mentality of I'm destined to be a filmmaker director and I'm going to make this my career? Like, how? Where did that come from? And how did I know to go along with it and listen to my intuition? Right? Like,
I think I have a
I,
theory, but
yes, please.
I feel like it was always it's like Bruce Willis in The Sixth Sense.
Mhm.
You were filmmaking was always there in your mind in the very
It was
beginning.
always there,
It
and
was
that
always
was the
there.
conclusion that we came up with too.
Yeah.
The lead actor, one of the lead actors, his name
Because
is
it
Blake.
didn't feel like for me when I've had my first day like on writer's block, I felt joy, I felt
Yes,
happiness for sure, but it
yes,
also felt like where the fuck were you all this time? Like you were
yeah,
supposed to do this like right after high school and then
yeah,
you thought, "Oh, maybe I go to college because filmmaking is not for me because I can't be a filmmaker. I can't make money as a filmmaker. I got to be an accountant. I got to do this. I got to do that." And everybody's
mhm,
telling me I got to go to this college and stuff that I couldn't
yeah,
get into because I'm a fucking idiot. Like
yeah,
I couldn't see myself doing that. But for whatever reason, in front of me, all I had was film.
hmm,
Like all I had, like at the end of the day, that was for me, like every time, every night after 7 o'clock, when everybody went to bed and everybody's all, fine and dandy, that's when I shine, is when
yeah,
I go and deep dive into a movie or deep dive into a show or get into the throes of writing. Sometimes I just I put on a record, I listen to an album, and I write the first 5 pages of whatever I'm writing.
yeah,
I love it. And it's something that I love so much that I never really thought about. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah. No, I totally
I don't
understand.
think about it. I just do it. And it's
Yes,
there. And
it's always that's what it is. That's exactly the conclusion that we came
yeah.
up with. The shout out to Billy Armstrong. This is the deep philosophical discussion we were having, but like our conclusion was that it was always there and has always been
Yeah.
there. That creativity, mindset, that energy has been with us since we were born, and it's just like it just what time in life that it chose to come and become, unleashed. But it's always been there. It's not something new.
And
It's
that's
just
yeah. And that's
what
that's that's basically like experience for anybody who's into creativity. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like, and that's the thing like that I hate the most that people don't see a lot is that they do all this creative shit and they love cooking, they love knitting, they love doing this, they love doing that. And it's like, yeah, but I don't want to make this as a business. Like it doesn't need to be a business. You're in the
mhm,
business of you. So you make your own time. It's like doing a podcast. It's like we're only doing it on our own time. This isn't like something we're getting paid by
yeah,
sponsors by.
yeah.
We're doing this because we love it and we love talking shit. I'm kidding. We don't talk shit, but we love talking about movies and shit that we love so much. Not to get Sunday school preachy about this, but you know, it's inspiring. It's so fat, and it's so weird too because like I watched the Beatles documentary. Have you seen the Beatles, the
I've
new Beatles
not. I've
documentary?
seen snippets of it,
It's
but I have
so
not yet.
fascinating seeing Paul McCartney basically do what we do on a daily basis, and that is working out the kinks of all your problems in front of you and
Yeah,
what is there in that moment. And it was so cathartic,
yeah.
Christine, because like I saw John and George and Paul and even Ringo, but Ringo sleepy ass fucking taking naps every 5 fucking minutes. That boy's wild.
Mhm,
But Paul and John really both like you see them like what first ADs do and directors do is work out their problems whatever's in front of them. It's just like, yeah, but like they have like this thing where they were trying to like chop up this song and make it as long as they possibly can. And then Paul is like, well, but we want to keep it short and sweet. You get it to the point, and we want it this way, we want it that way. And you see them have creative compromises. You see them meet halfway and say, you know what? I like what you are doing, but let's make it better by doing X, you know? And then
Yeah.
they stack each other on top of that. They yes and each other, you know,
Yeah.
which is what you really want in a collaborative experience. So long story short, I recommend, you know, the Beatles documentary for anybody who feels like they're lacking creativity, because creativity is literally everywhere. And it's even and it's even a problem with the Beatles, ladies and gentlemen, the fucking Beatles, the leaders of freedom and rock and roll. Like, they also have their fucking problems and their doubts and making shit in their songs. You
Yeah.
know, they'll say that whatever song they're making is garbage. They have absolutely no problem calling that out and shit like that, and calling each other out even too, in a very respectful way. And these are the nicest like English boys ever too. So like they call each other out, but in the most business like demeanor. It is so respectful, like how they shoot each other down. It's like, I'm not sure about that, George. I like the idea, but the execution is not quite. You know, it's just like, I love it. It's so proper and shit like that. I love, because it's constructive criticism. It's not like,
Yeah.
hey, dummy, your song stinks, I fucking hate it, you know, or your art sucks, your movie sucks. You know, it's not, we're not in the business of that. We're in the business of like, we're all in this together, and everybody should enjoy this, because I feel just as much passion and magic for this thing as much as I would assume everyone else on set is.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
the process, and what you're talking about is
Yeah,
that it's our appreciation and fascination with the process.
exactly.
And I think that's when you know you fall in love, is when it's not about what we've made or what we're making, or what it all boils down to is this process of creativity that we pull from within us, that's always been there, but we are realizing in whatever art form that we choose to engage in. And for us, it's films. And I like that you came to the same conclusion of that it's always just been there. It's
Yeah,
funny because that's the conclusion that Billy and I came to, or more, he was like, hey, this is like something within us that's always been there. It's nothing new. It just
right.
chose to come out at this exact moment. And that's the feeling you get. And that's the I read a lot of books about people who are very good at what they do, are outliers in their fields. And it seems like that's the conclusion, is that everybody says that there's this feeling that that it was meant to be, that you were destined to do whatever you choose that it is, with great artists. That's been their conclusion, that they all feel like there was a calling, and a purpose, or whatever. And I guess that's what we're shining light on about that purpose, is that it's something that's within us, that's always with us. And it may choose to appear, very early on in life, or it may come later, but it's always been there. And
It's
it's
just
just
how
cool.
we chose our path
It's how we
is
chose
what
our path.
dictates that.
Yes.
And I'm so, because the path that I chose was not this isn't my film career was not the first path. My first path was actually retail. I
Mhm.
thought the rest of my life was going to be retail.
Yeah.
Like, and I was very aware of that, and I kind of almost accepted it.
Yeah.
And there's no shame in that, by the way. There's no shame in, loving retail and loving the business and understanding it. But for me, I was putting a square peg in a round hole.
Yeah.
It wasn't working out for me. And honestly, I was not good at it. I was very not good at it. I was very bad at my job. I constantly showed up late. I was not a good employee. I was very bad. It was not good. But somehow I moved up in the totem pole of managerial status,
Mhm.
which was very strange. And I became a manager when I turned 19 years old,
Yeah.
like an assistant manager. And that was way too much responsibility for someone who was 19 years old. It's just, I was handling keys and like thousands of dollar deposits and shit that I had to take to the bank and stuff. And I'm like, you trust a 19-year-old kid? You guys are out of your minds. No, but long story short, film inherently was the backbone of my entire existence. Like it was my everything. It's just for whatever reason my brain just couldn't connect the two and two together to say, no, you can do this. Other people have done this. What makes you think that you can't do this?
Right.
You know, and that doesn't make any sense. And I never told myself that. I
Right.
never really like had that thought in my head where it's like, oh wait, I can do this. Until going back to movies, I started watching movies and I went into the behind the scenes of it all. And I'm like, hang on, this guy shot it on his iPhone and this guy choreographed all the fight scenes with cardboard boxes. Wait a second, I can do this.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is this? I can do this shit. What the fuck? And then I start going down the rabbit hole of like my ideas and what I would do. And, you know, I even had like 2 of these whiteboards. I broke the other one during the move, but I had 2 of these whiteboards and they were covered in notes. They were just like top to bottom, like just written. Everything was just written down on whiteboard.
Yeah.
And I would just listen to music and just, you know, just let my imagination just go wild.
So my question is then, because you sort of danced around it, was when was your light bulb moment
that I want to be a filmmaker?
Yeah. Where you're like, you said that, you know, you're watching when you realize like, oh, I can totally do this. Right. Or like, when did you know it was your calling? I guess is my question.
So one of my favorite movies of all, and it's so hard to explain why it's my favorite movie, but I think I can.
Okay.
But I love this movie, and it came out when I graduated high school, called Drinking Buddies. It's by Joe Swanberg. It was written, directed,
I've never seen it.
Produced. Has Olivia Wilde in it. Has Jake Johnson in it.
Okay. Drinking
and
Buddies.
Anna Kendrick too. Of all fucking people too. Like star-studded cast, but from a director who produced, wrote, and co-edited all of his like stuff, everything that he does, including the TV show he made for Netflix and stuff. He was a great director, but for some reason that movie, when I watched it front to back, it sort of dawned on me that how simple it was, because it was shot in Chicago in the middle of the suburbs. They even like they had a tracking shot of Olivia Wilde riding a bike. And I realized that like they took a van and they just drove right with hazard lights, just drove, because you could see the hazard lights reflect off of the windows as Olivia Wilde was passing by, like some of these you see the reflection of the van from the windows. And I wasn't sure if that was like an editorial mistake or that was just shot weird or whatever, but I was so fascinated because it took me out of the movie, but it also played a big part in it in terms of like how, I don't know, how like paper mache this movie was kind of put together. You know, it felt like it was impromptu, like everything was kind of like made on the fly, you know. And it's a great, and how Joe Swanberg like how I saw it was so simple that it sort of like just came to me, and I watched other films, including like Kevin Smith films. So it wasn't like just that moment, but it was that moment that started for me that was like, wait a second. So this guy made it on a shoestring budget and shot around Chicago, and all they used was like a moving truck. And the biggest scene was like this like party at a brewery. But that was like handling like 30 extras. That was like the biggest scene. that was in this movie, but it's usually like just two people just talking, but they're mostly improvised. They're not
Yeah.
written dialogue. That's not what Joe Swanberg does. He just writes what he wants in the scene. Like, I need you to get from point A to point B, but they let the actors just basically
Go.
the words
Yeah.
however they want to.
Okay.
And it's amazing. And I'm like, this guy, and he shoots it too sometimes. Like, some of his short films, he shot it all himself. Like, I was so fascinated and drawn to the movie, and also him as a filmmaker, that made me appreciate other filmmakers like Kevin Smith and
Yeah.
Richard,
That style called
Linklater.
Dogma? Is that
Dogma.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Dogma, right? It's where
Yeah.
they just give you maybe an outline or
It's
a
heavy.
scenario.
Exactly. It's heavily
Improv.
inspired by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dogma, that's what it is. And it's all like natural lighting and stuff like that. I thought about trying to do that just to feel what that's like.
But I never knew it at the time. Like, I didn't know
Yeah.
what Dogma meant. I just remember watching this movie. Like, I sort of stumbled upon the movie too. I was like, Drinking Buddies, this sounds interesting. And I rented it through Redbox. And yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this movie? This is crazy. And then that made a calling to other movies that I then appreciated, because I watched Clerk and Kevin Smith films early in my life, but I was really young. Like, I was just I was a child. Like, I didn't know really what was happening.
Yeah.
So when I then got older and watched Drinking Buddies and got into Joe Swanberg, I then got into all that other shit. So I'm sorry, this feels like a long-winded.
No,
like,
I'm trying to
way,
find the movie so I can. Drinking
right.
Buddies.
But
Joe.
Are you in Austin right now?
Yeah.
I have it on Blu-ray. I can have you borrow it if you want.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, I see it here. Drinking Buddies.
Unless it's on Netflix. Maybe.
No, it's on Prime though.
Oh, there you go.
It's not on Prime, but let me
Oh.
see. Is it on Prime? No, I have to rent it, but that's okay. That's cool. Drinking Buddies.
Yeah, it's a great. I don't, again, like, I can't, it's really hard to just pinpoint A, B, and C how I like the film. It's just the atmosphere, how it's shot, how everything was laid out. It's so charmingly small and inexpensive that the most expensive piece of the film are the actors.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's like the most expensive piece in the frame are the talent. In the film.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's always probably the case, but I like, it was funny to me. I'm just like, hey, you got a bunch of talented ass motherfuckers to get in this very small independent budget film. It gave me hope as, just someone who's fresh into this industry, that anything can happen. You can make friends with A-list celebrities, hopefully. Hit them up on Instagram, be like, yeah, here's my script. No, I don't know. I'm not going to do that. But I'm saying, like, it's inspiring for filmmakers to just kind of DIY most of their shit. And then, like you have, and that's what makes you inspiring for so long. And also, made me appreciate how much of an awesome teacher that you became for me, just in terms of the film industry, and Kelly too. For
Are you
the art
sure
department.
this was made with? Because I'm looking at it and it's saying that it was made with like a budget of $1 million.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Oh well, then never mind. I take that back. It's not my inspiration. I hate it now.
No, but the dialogue was improvised. That's what they're saying. It says that.
Yeah, then I don't know what got in my head that it was just like a few
actors received
100,000
outlines covering the major plot points, and we're told each day what would happen in those days' scenes, and then they improvised
from
a
there
mumblecore.
Mumblecore
Is what it's actually called.
Right.
Knowing that the structure was already in place, I was letting the actors own their characters. So it's mumblecore. But the filming took place in Chicago. They shot it in a brewery.
Yes. And at a cabin. And that, I think,
yeah.
and like a car shop, but that was literally it.
Well, the 1 million probably just all went to the talent, honestly.
Maybe. I don't know why, for some reason in my head, it was like a couple of like $1,000. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It
I
doesn't.
know.
But good
It's
movie.
interesting. Yeah.
So long story short, yeah, it wasn't until like I was in the throes of retail
Right.
and I started dating
Okay.
when yeah, when I realized that like, oh yeah, no, retail's not for me and I'm supposed to be doing this. And
Right.
for some reason, my entire
World.
existence to this point has only been retail. And that's all I
Yeah.
knew. And I thought like
Right.
for some reason, like the universe was like telling me like, yeah, maybe this is just what you're smart at. And this is just the
Yeah.
way it is.
Yeah.
It's like, no, dude, like you actually love movies and you articulate these movies so much to the point where like I dated my ex who was, like been with me for I want to say like 2 years, no, 3 years,
Okay.
almost 3 years. Like literally on the first date, just sort of like cracked my world into two. Basically, like asked me like, why don't you do something that just makes you happy? Because I basically told her like, retail doesn't really make me happy, but it makes me
Yeah.
money. And she was like, why don't you go
Do
for
it.
film that makes you happy? And I'm
Happy.
like,
Yeah.
well, I mean,
Well, why
filmmakers don't
don't
make
I?
money. Well, yeah, but I always had that doubt in my head. It's like, oh, but I'm not
Yes.
good enough. Like I'm not good.
Yes.
Like there's no way I can do this.
Do it. Yeah.
It's like, but you won't know if you're good until you do it. And I'm just
Right.
like, yeah, but I also hate rejection. And I also hate, I also hate being denied and also being a failure too, especially in a
Yeah.
medium that means so much to me. And then she
Yeah.
told me, this is what cracked my world, actually. She was like, that if it means so much to you, why would you think you would fail? And I'm like,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
all you're focused on is making something great. Why would you think you just setting yourself up to fail? You're trying to make something great. You're putting in the
I'm
effort.
mind blown.
Yeah. So when she said that, I'm like, oh yeah, no, I give up retail. I'm like, 2 months later, and we met while working too. And we
Yeah.
just became friends. And then after a while, we're like, hey, this is silly. We should be dating. And then we started dating. But yeah, like you sort of I don't know. I guess it takes some sort of outside perspective to really shoehorn the idea
Sure.
that has been incubating in my brain for so long. That is like,
Yeah.
dude, just do the thing that makes you happy.
Happy. Yeah.
What the fuck are you doing? Living the rest of your life just suffering through the throes of something because of money.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I can't afford it. It's just like, you live off of Pop Tarts and Mountain Dew as it is, dummy. Like, what makes this any different that you're going to
Yeah.
chase after something you love doing?
No, I love this. This is a nice segue because I'm at that
I feel like I'm
crossroads.
talking so much. I'm
No, no,
sorry.
no. I'm at that crossroads right now too. I am, like I said, 10 years ago, I made the jump and the leap. And it's crazy. It's only been 10 years, leap to do this professionally, full time. And I'm back at it where I'm about to make a big decision or whether or not I'm going to finally move to LA, to continue that journey of, yeah, of the growth of
Fucking A.
to move to as a filmmaker. And I am having the exact thoughts that you're talking about when you were deciding whether or not to go into film. And it's that like I'm scared. I don't think maybe I won't be good enough. Um, I was telling my friend Billy, like I keep thinking, oh, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to starve and not have any friends when I'm in LA. And then it's all these irrational fears that are like legitimately psyching myself out. But you're right, like what your friend is saying. If you care about it so much, why do you think you're going to set yourself up to fail? Right? You're going to succeed just from the fact that you care about it that much. And it's
Because
a
it means the world to you.
because it
So
means the world to you. Yeah. So
so you
that's
when there's a will, there's a way.
yeah, that's where I am right now. It's
But that's a big decision, Christine, and I'm
yeah,
happy for you for
yeah,
for even considering it. I'm not gonna tell you whether you should or shouldn't, but
yeah.
I think you will fucking thrive in LA, in
Well,
my
I
opinion.
think I just think it's everything is leading up to this point in terms of like a perfect storm. You know, they say like the world will give you signs sometimes to tell you to steer you in the right direction, and I'm seeing those signs, whether or not I'm seeing it because I am in the right mindset to be like, okay, it's time, or who knows, or somebody's literally trying to show me, be like, slap me in the face, say it's your time. But it's like, it is exactly 10 years. So 2012 was when I decided to tell my parents after I graduated from business school I was not going to take a corporate job, right? So that's 2012. At that moment, I had already been debating whether or not I should where I would live. In LA was one of those options. I was like, LA or Austin? Obviously, 10 years later, I chose Austin. So it's weird that this year, 2021, which is a, it's give or take about 10 years. It's 9 and something, I'm got a gig in LA, a feature, and then it's like calling me back from that point when I did go to LA to visit and decide whether or not to go to LA or Austin. So I'm at a similar crossroads again. It's like, hello, I'm here again, my friend.
Back to where it started.
Back to where it started, and it's too coincidental. And then on the top of that, my roommate in Shreveport, also congratulations to Megan, got a huge, great job offer she hasn't decided whether she's going to take it or not. I think she should, but it would bring her to Mississippi, which then is another push for me to be like, well, why would you stay?
Why stick around, dude?
Yeah, and I've already finished why I even moved to Louisiana in the first place was my feature, and I did that. So it's like all these things are like trying to pound me on the head to say like this is it. And
the writing's on the wall, Christine. You keep missing it.
Yeah.
But it's
and
there.
I think I'm scared because I know this is the next step. And I know my professor said, if you aren't scared about something, it's because you aren't taking it seriously enough. So I guess because I know the reality and
great.
Yeah. And because I know how real and how serious I am about this decision, that is why I'm feeling these emotions right now. Like if I didn't, and it makes perfect sense. If it was not remotely a possibility in my mind, like who gives a fuck, right? Like I wouldn't have to feel this way, but I feel this way because it's possible. Like I can see that this could very much alter the trajectory of my life,
for the good too. And as long as you maintain that mindset,
yeah,
I think you're gonna, like I said, I think you're gonna thrive, and I'm absolutely excited for you to even consider it. So, hats off to you, Christine, and hats off to you for making big choices as well. I also got to be making big choices by finishing this fucking script that's killing me.
Yes,
but,
that I'm excited to read at some point.
Yeah, no, I love it. It's just like man, I keep thinking about what you said about your friend telling you, if you're scared, you're not taking it seriously enough. It's just like, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's just like I'm so terrified of writing that I'm not doing it enough for me to really, like just engage with it the way that I've always been engaging with it. Now I have a better relationship with it, but that's because, I'm not as scared as I once was, because I was able to, you know, go to therapy and have some self reflection and watch movies again, especially movies that I haven't watched in a really long time. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Going back and even watching the original Dune. I watched David Lynch's Dune when I was 9 years old. I loved it. I loved it so much. but in Star Wars too, like I rewatched Star Wars again. I watched 4, 5, and 6 again, the trilogy, and I fell in love with it again. Like I fell in love with Star Wars all over again. And I like kept scratching my head. I'm like, why is it that I'm falling in love with this shit so much? And I fall in love with it so hard. And it's because my life has been about characters. It's about story. It's about world building. It's about all this shit that I've been following my entire life. That's been my inspiration, my joy. Um Kind of reminds me. It sort of is a gentle reminder of that. It's like, hey man, you can do this and you love this. Like you just got to believe in yourself a little more. And yeah, I'm trying to believe in myself, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard because I have so much doubt about this script that I just like sometimes it just renders me useless, that I'm just
Yeah.
staring at a
I get
wall,
it. I
you
get it.
know?
I get that fear. I get that. But now you know, and I guess we can end on that note, which is
Yes.
if you aren't scared, it's because you aren't taking it seriously enough. And that's important to remember that being scared does not definitely most more often than not doesn't mean you should stay away from it. It's a test, right? It's a test of, even despite this crippling fear that you are feeling, are you committed enough to face that fear and to seize the opportunity?
And not let that failure hinder your journey either.
Exactly.
In
Yeah.
fact, maybe even a lesson, you know, and it's
Yeah.
hard. It's hard in that moment because once you fail, you're like, oh, this is it. This is the end, you know, but
Yeah.
it's never the end. There's
Yeah,
nowhere,
because that fear is both a, you want it so badly, and it's that fear of, yeah, if you try it and you fail, then like something that you care about and love, that you've been fantasizing over for so long, is is a reality or not a reality, and you just have to face the fact that that's not was not meant for you to be, and that's a sad thing to think about. And I think it's that fear, it's a mix of like, yeah, you, because you care about it so much and you want it so badly, you're taking it extremely seriously. That's why you have all these emotions. I don't know, and I'm just speaking out of my butt, but
no, you're not.
I think in the end it's a test. It's a test to, do you really want this?
Right. Especially if all the cards are stacked against you and you're willing to go again. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You know,
Yeah. And I look back to all the major milestones in my life. For example, Erzulie. Um, and there's always that moment, that test moment of every card is stacked against you right in this second, and you're scared and you don't know if you're going to be able to do it. So so the life question is, are you still willing to commit, and are you still going to do it?
mm-hmm.
Right. That's
Right.
the question in that moment. And if we answer yes, 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 time and time and again, it's going to happen. And
I
I
mean, yeah, go ahead.
I was just say, like, throughout this entire journey as a filmmaker, I'm asked that internally and through the universe every single time I'm on set. Are you sure you want to do this? It's an overnight. Do you really want, the people in here are difficult or not, or here's a difficult situation, blah, blah, blah. Are you sure you still want to be in this film? Dude, are you sure? It's a test all the time and time and again. And it's okay if it's sometimes not resounding 150% yes or whatever. But if you, the next day you wake up, you cover, and you're like, oh, I'm ready for it again. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters, ladies and gentlemen. And on that note, we can take this plane for a landing and
Yeah.
and this, to me, wonderful episode of the podcast. You know, we're both a little delirious and sleepy, but you know, we're still engaging like a couple of motherfucking scholars. Yeah, I mean, ask yourself that question, ladies and gentlemen. Are you still willing to commit? You know, and if you are, then
Just
go
do
for
it.
it. Just
Go
do it.
for it. And it's okay to be scared.
And it's
a test.
okay to be scared.
Because if you weren't taking it seriously, you wouldn't be scared.
You wouldn't. That's right. GetRealisms.com, ladies and gentlemen. We're just going to go straight into the plugs.
Yes.
GetRealisms.com. Get your books today, ladies and gentlemen. Get your poster, get your t-shirts, get all the good essential Get Realism stuff that you need in your life. And ErzuliFilm.com for all the episodes, including this one soon, and all the previous episodes too. So you can listen back, and you can also listen on Spotify and any other podcasting platform.
Yeah.
That's about it.
We hope you listen, and
we hope you're inspired. This is a free podcast, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is we're doing this only on our own accord, and we love doing it. We love talking to yous, and we just love talking to each other. Really,
hell, you know? I get out of bed after a 15-hour overnight day to roll
just
in
do this
and
podcast.
do the podcast.
I couldn't be more thankful of you, Christine. I couldn't be more thankful of you. And this is pre coffee for Christine.
I literally like when I say rolled out of bed. You can tell this is what I wore to sleep. I woke up, came out, and went to my computer. Yeah.
That's how Christine rolls, ladies and gentlemen.